This conference will now be recorded.
Already changed on the agenda, but I happened to notice about 10 minutes ago that I had a wrong date. In case anybody noticed that. Oh,
So with that minor change, I just need the adoption of the agenda.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. We'll open the public comment portions. Individuals may address the city council about any item of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit the remarks to 5 minutes. Public comments. I will close public comment portion. And we'll jump to consent agenda. All items listed in the consent agenda are considered routine by council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless council member requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and be considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. I know there's a few things on there, but nothing.
Only thing I thought about is I usually don't vote on the cigarette licenses, but it's not really that big of a deal.
I mean,
shouldn't be a big deal.
yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I guess one thing that I just looked at it. That last one, L, is that pump that went out?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and I didn't know if the council was aware of that. Mike, do you want to explain?
No,
that?
no, this is the one from before.
Oh, okay, sorry,
We
okay,
already talked about
Yep, this was
Okay.
just the labor portion of
Okay.
that, just following up with.
okay, because I do know we had another pump go out at the wastewater treatment plant.
Yep, we have another one I had let Todd know about, so.
Yeah, no, I thought that was the pump, so we had another one that went out, and I think, was it like 8,000 or something to get a new pump? And it's ordered and on its way, but typical maintenance and issues, so, but I apologize.
Yeah, I thought that was one.
Got a motion.
I just need a
Wait
motion.
a second.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, did you? Okay. Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Let's jump down to public hearing meetings, the 2025 final budget and levy. Kim, we're gonna let you run with this for a little while. Again,
You don't run out of cord there. Oh, no, you're good.
All right, I thought it would be helpful because I did have some questions about some of the changes in the tax structure within the city to talk a little bit about our taxable market value and how it affects your taxes. So as we may or may not know, the assessors are required by state statute to assess properties or value properties at their market rate. And we've seen a lot of raising in the market rate as we watch the housing market for sure. We've seen huge increases in homes, and it also is affecting commercial as well. Last year, I guess within the county, there were quite a few commercial sales. So there was a big reevaluation with commercial. Their values went up, which did affect their rate. So we're going to go through that a little bit. As we know, those valuations always lag behind the year that you get taxed. So in April of this year, you got a valuation statement for your property. That valuation is what's used to pay your taxes for 2025. So as we know that if you have an issue with your valuation or you think that it's too low or too high or whatever you think, you have to appeal it at the county at that time. The time to appeal now is passed. So if anybody would come in and say, I want to appeal my value for my 2025 taxes, we have to say, no, we have no way to change that. It's done. Each property in town, whether it's residential or commercial, is assigned a property class, because as we know, the tax code within the state of Minnesota is pretty complex. So, and we are a property tax reliant state, so we use that to pay a lot of our taxes. And the tax capacity of each parcel is a percentage of each parcel's market value. That is the parcel market value times the class rate, and in residential, it's 1%, up to $500,000. That's your parcel tax capacity. That just means that's the maximum we can tax you. That's and not even tax you. That's the maximum that they use that you can add all together to make the levy. And we know that homeowners don't have to take any action in order to benefit from the homeowners market value or market value exclusion. And that is for homes that are $517,200 or less. The more your house's value goes up, the less credit you get. So if your house is getting up into the upper twos, $300,000 range, you're going to start to see that drop until it's nothing. It's important to know that market values are determined in the year prior to the year. I kept saying that because that is one of our biggest things that we have. So here you see the maximum exclusion applies to homes valued at $95,000. The exclusion of that level is 40% of the assessed market value. So you take 95,000 minus 40%, and the remaining market value, which is $57,000, would be used for determining the tax capacity. So there you see that. I always had somebody say to me that they thought they paid more taxes depending on where they lived. That's not true. Everybody's tax rate is the same, but when you have a home over $500,000, that increment over the first $500,000 is the tax capacity is figured at 1%. After $500,000, anything above $500 is at 1.25%. So they actually, in a sense, do pay a little bit more in taxes because of the value of their home, but it's not based on where they live, it's based on value. So a home valued at $600,000, the tax capacity with the first $500,000 would be at 1% or $5,000. The $100,000 over the 500 would be at 1.25%, which gives a total tax capacity at 6.25%. And as you see, commercial is a lot similar, but they pay higher rates. Their tax capacity is higher than residential, except for non-residential, non-homestead single units. Commercial property is valued at $600,000. The tax capacity is calculated as follows. Now, the other one that we saw what that tax capacity was, $6,250. Here we got the first $150,000 at 1.5%, which is $2,250. The $450,000 above that would be at 2% tax capacity, which is $9,000. That total tax capacity on that parcel is $11,250. Does that mean we have to pay that much? No. Local governments do not set a tax rate. That is the function of the levy and the total tax base. So the county adds all the tax capacities within the city together to an aggregate. It makes a few adjustments. It takes off TIF. It takes off abatements. It takes off things like that. And then what we do, that's when they make all those aggregates, that's the result of that is the total tax capacity. And that's how we determine what our tax rate is, by comparing it with the levy that we have set. The city levy, sorry guys, let's get into the snoozy part then. The city levy divided by the taxable tax capacity equals the city tax rate. For the city of Zumbrota, the estimated tax rate payable in 225 is 49.2%. In 2024, neighboring comparable sized cities had tax rate ranging from 41.99 to 80.97%. Two were under 50%. It was us and another community. This year, everybody did increase their levy. Nobody stayed level. So those rates would probably be roughly the same. So I would anticipate that, again, there would probably be possibly two under the 50%. The rest would be over, all the way up to 80.97%. So there's a big difference. We're at 49.2 proposed this year or next year, and I would believe the other one would be close to 80.97, maybe just a smidge lower. Residential property value saw a slight increase proposed for taxes payable in 2025. This resulted in an increase in city taxes of approximately $12.97 per 100,000 of taxable market value for your home. So that's what our levy increase of 8% did. It looked like it was a $12.97 approximate increase per each $100,000 value, taxable market value of your home. So we saw those big increases. Remember last year we had a huge increase, and the year before we had like a 15%, it was like 20 some percent last year and 15% the year before. So it's between 22 and 24, residential saw the big taxable value increases. Now commercial's seeing it. And so when you add them all together and you look at them overall, they're roughly the same. And of course, I like to look at what's in there. I go on the county website, public information. You can look up any address in the county. You can find out what they pay for taxes. You can find out who owns it. You can find out if they're late on their taxes or not. It's all public information. So I just went through and I did a bunch of houses and I just put in their taxable market value since 2020. So you can see from that there's a huge change in there. Most of the increases are right around 40-some%. There could be some homes in here that had some improvements. If you pull a building permit or something, that will flag something and they'll come in and adjust your value. But there's about a 40-some% increase in the taxable market value in the properties.
You might recognize some of those.
Yep, because they're everybody in this rooms and then a few others. I tried to do a cross section in town. We are starting to see that between 150 and 250, we don't have a lot of properties that are falling into that tax range anymore. That's because the taxable market value exclusion goes away. So I think it makes kind of a hole in that when you're looking at comparisons. Last year, more was paid for commercial properties and estimated market values. So I called Bob came in and talked to me. I did have another business owner come in and talk to me about theirs. So I contacted the assessor to ask how often do they reevaluate these? And she said yearly, but the state of Minnesota last year required Goodhue County to make a very large adjustment on all commercial county wide because there were so many sales of businesses within the county. All commercial properties received a larger than normal increase because of the commercial sales across the county. And last year, remember, the legislature increased the agricultural value tier and increased the homestead exclusion value range. That, in effect, shifted some of the tax burden from residents to commercial and industrial owners. That's making a shift. Now, it shifts back and forth. If you look at what happens, you watch your taxable market exclusion. If you have it, it'll go up and down, not even dependent on the value. It was interesting looking at all those statements. Well, at least I found it interesting. So there's some of the commercial values and some of the changes we've seen there. So there's been pretty significant increases in there as well. Again, they're roughly about the same between commercial and residential, just different years of increases. There we go. There's our population. So now we're moving right on to the budget here. So our estimated population in 2024 per the state demographer is 3,993 people. In 2008, we were 3,172. That's a pretty good increase over that amount of years. And I haven't changed my pictures for years, so next year I promise I'll put new pictures in. Last year in 2023, we only had 9 housing starts. This year we have 20. So we're seeing a bound back. Last year was slowed down because of the increase in tax rates. Now, why do I talk about this? Because all these new construction projects, they're going to add to our taxable market capacity next year, which could in turn raise or lower our tax rate, depending on what is decided by council. Here's that. We added $6,658,000 we are believing in new residential housing for this year, or at least that's what we pulled in building permits. If the houses aren't completed this year, part will be on it, and the next year we'll get the complete house on the tax book, because there's a lag. Just remember, there's always a lag. Commercial value last year was a very slow year. This year we've seen a little bit of a bounce back, which is great. I think a lot of that is due to some of the commercial expansion we've seen downtown. Nelson's remodel, some other things that have done, I think, have really added to our commercial market value. And whoops, I got that one we've seen. Okay, so there is our levy. There's our levy since 2017 and where we're at. We've increased by a little bit over $1 million with the levy, but remember that our population and our housing has also increased during that time. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about some of our 2025 budget considerations and what we took into it. We budgeted an overall increase of 3% for general costs and purchases as costs overall have risen. We increased wages in accordance with union contracts. Our health insurance increased by more than 12%, so we had to take into account for that. We budgeted for equipment certificates to shore up equipment funding for future large purchases. We increased the seal coat budget. We're accounting for adding additional admin staff. We increased the stormwater fee to allow for increasing volume and costs of repairs. We are, again, like every other city in the state, we have aging infrastructure. We need to keep up with it, and that's why we are budgeting for that at this point. But on the plus side, on the happy side, we have seen a significant increase in interest received due to the change in interest rates. A few years ago, our interest was maybe $23,000, and last year it was over $100,000. So we're definitely seeing an increase, but there's a flip side on that as well. If we go to borrow, our rates are going to be higher. But for right now, that's helping our budget a little bit. We start the budget process, as you know, I started in April. Try and get it to you in the first meeting in June, and then we start doing our meetings going forward so that we can set the budget. This is the last one where the public can chime in if they have any comments about what we're spending on, why we made the decisions that we did. This is some of the things that I took into consideration. And if you have any comments or questions or changes you want made, next council meeting is our last time we could make the change. We can go down, but not up. We have to finalize and vote on the budget at the next meeting.
Thank you. Thanks for the info. Any questions for Kim?
Just about we thought down the 2025 budget, we did a 2-month break.
Kind of true, isn't that?
Perfect. Thanks, Kim, for all the work and the explanation. I know the commercial, I talked to the mayor from Pine Island asking, what's your commercial? Bob knows that firsthand, and we're kind of in the same boat, and it was a good county thing, which is tough, so. Perfect, thanks, Kim.
Yeah, and I just want to note too that, that increase in the interest, that's a lot due to Kim and keeping on top of CDs and just moving money around to kind of optimize when we have dollars there. She moves things just before projects, projects out when there's going to be a project, how long we can put a CD to get the best rates. So a lot of that increase is due to Kim's keeping on top of that as well. So
Our financial institutions treat us well.
yes. Oh, it's absolutely too. It's another good factor in there. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's jump to new business. Minnesota Office of Traffic Safety recognizes Sergeant Pasquale impaired driving enforcement efforts. We'll let Scott McConaughey have the floor.
Good. Sure, I can. Right up here. I don't know if you know the gentleman behind me. Right here. Your chief and I go a long ways, probably about 15 years now, I think. So, thanks for having me. I don't want to make little of the fact that you share for this because you have a lot going on, busy agenda. So thank you for your time. Hopefully use it to your benefit. I've known Patrick for a while. I know he cares deeply about this community and the citizens in it. And I also know he cares deeply about his cops that are here to serve and protect your community. One of the things he shared with me is your sergeant's dedication to DWI enforcement and helping to keep this community safe. We know when there's efforts to remove the impaired driver, the community is safer and the quality of living even goes up because people feel safe and secure when they can travel. Boy, I couldn't keep up with those numbers. I couldn't even think of it, but no, but that was amazing. I have one not very joyful number to share. I was just looking before I came up at the fatality rate in Minnesota at this point. This point last year, we were at 402 deaths on our highways, way too many. Yet, right as of today, this year we're at 426, 25 more. So our work is cut out for us. In traffic safety, you can't let up because there's always new people coming up, shifting populations, and we just always, we've been at speed since the 1930s. Look, we're still dealing with, same with impaired driving. Impaired driving too is kind of launched in a new area, and we're helping. One of the things our office is trying to do to help is get training, but it's the drug impaired. Impaired driving used to be kind of a nighttime activity. I started my career as a state trooper working out of Rochester, straight nights for 11 years. I covered your county and several others, but it continues even to this day. So that's why we're here, just to recognize there's a lot of cops, but that are dedicated, but we're going to limit it to this one, and he cares about the community as well. So Sergeant, why don't you step on up? I don't want to miss. I just got to see he has his fan club here, so that's neat to see. But because of that, we just want to thank Zumbrota for supporting your police department. We want to thank the chief for leading the police department. We want to thank the sergeant for taking these efforts. I come out because at your department's request, and I'm very glad to be here, but me being here isn't the important thing. The thing that's important is that you are here and that you're here to share and to your appreciation for what the police department does and their officers to keep your community safe. And I would be remiss if I didn't say there's one job I know that's tougher to being a cop. It's being a cop's wife. Can you agree? Yeah. And I thank my wife often for doing that. So because of that, Sergeant Pasquale, the state of Minnesota, once again, recognizes you as a DWI All-Star. Thank you, sir.
Thank
you. And kind of going along with the baseball athletic theme, they get a little athletic towel. And here, we'll get it. Yeah, hold it there. So and it's just a small way of saying thank you in a physical way. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. Anything you'd like to say, Richie?
Well, I'd like to say good job. Well done.
Thank you.
And thank you for your continued contribution, not just to the city, but as well as the officers that are under your supervision. And, you know, the way you handle training and being involved, you're bringing up the next generation of officers that hopefully will follow in your footsteps. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to say thanks, Tony, and for your hard work and dedication to the Zumbrota Police Department.
I've told some cops recently who were just promoted. I say, you don't know the time, but the best day in any cop's career is the day he fails a promotion exam. So,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Let's jump to 7B, Resolution 2024-39, adopting the 2024 Hazardous Mitigation Plan. Brian.
Yep. We've been at this for about, 18 months. Pat and I, Mike was involved as well. Along with the county, they have to update their plan every, I think it's 10 years. And so what resulted is the updated plan. I didn't give you all the paper, Todd, because it's 252 pages, but in your packet or you've got the electronic version, the council does to page through. The last 3 pages are Zumbrota. So, you know, a lot of it's the same as it has been, with just some updated hazards, updated things like that. And we just need to approve a resolution to be part of that hazard mitigation approval process, and that'll allow us to be able to access FEMA dollars if we have things like the flood, which we are going to access. It's looking like about $5,200 is what we'll get back in what we spent on cleanup for the flood. So the effort that went into this and being able to access some of those dollars and put some of these hazards at the forefront is a good thing. So just requesting approval of the resolution by the council.
Any questions or concerns with that? We'll do roll call. Sarah.
We have to make a motion.
Oh, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-39.
Now we'll do roll
Everyone's
call.
having trouble. What is happening?
Sarah.
Aye.
Bob.
What are you gonna do without me here
And I
today?
passes 4-0-0. Thanks, Brian. Let's jump to 9C, the discussion draft ordinance 2024-07 cannabis ordinance and set public hearing. Brian?
Yeah, as you know, this has been a whole deal, this cannabis. You know, it's evolving quickly. I thought we had a little bit more time. Found out that, no, we need to have something in place January 1st. So I talked to a whole bunch of different cities. I was with a bunch of administrators, and they are all using the model ordinance from the state, which is what I've got in your packet. I think I included the model ordinance itself and then one that I had started to modify. I had some questions for the county on that as far as licensing and registration, because we delegated that to the county. But I'm going to add that back in, I think, if council is okay with that, just because we may take it back at some point. So I think we should have it in the ordinance and maybe just list it as the city of Zumbrota or designee. Some other communities are doing that. And then we also, at the end of the ordinance, there's the temporary special event, and we do license that evidently. The county said to leave that in there. So really, it's a work in progress right now. We'll continue to work on it. I've been talking with Matt, and we've got some things that we want to take a look at in there. But we anticipate talking more about it at the work session next Wednesday. And then bringing more of a completed document back to for a public hearing, if council so chooses to set the public hearing at the December 19th council meeting. So any questions so far? Comments, anything on there?
How do the annual compliance checks work? Is that just where
We
we
would-
send our police officers?
Yes, yep, same as the tobacco and the edible cannabinoids. That's the other thing I removed out of there because that I need to talk to more about Matt with, because we have our edible or low potency ordinance already in place. So I figured we probably shouldn't contradict or double dip with that in here. So I took that part out. But yeah, compliance checks will be just like they're done for cigarettes and edible.
That's only if we,
If any of them,
and that, right?
no, we still do the compliance checks. So we have a say on the, yep, we have the say on the what, where, when, so we can limit, you can't smoke it in the park. You can't smoke cannabis wherever children are. There's a whole bunch of things. And then also compliance checks would be ours.
How about the number of licenses?
No, we don't have a number of licenses. In all likelihood, we probably won't have any because the county has been pretty restrictive on what they're doing with their ordinance as well. It's a matter of if somebody applies and requests to be in Zumbrota, then we would have to consider that. There's not any number in there that I saw in the ordinance. I think we're kind of bound by the state and the 12,500 in the county, or one per 12,500 in the entire county. So that defines the numbers of them. Where they end up, I don't know that we have a lot of say. We do have some communities that didn't delegate their registration and are wanting one or two in their community. So that'll chew up some licenses. But again, we'll continue to work on this from now until the work session and get a little better feel for it.
Get something in place, then we can always be revisited next
Yeah,
year.
I got a call from Brad Anderson, one of the county commissioners, and they're concerned that if they are requested to have a license in Zumbrota, and we don't have anything in place, they'd feel terrible if it ended up across the street from the school or someplace where we don't want them, and we would have no mechanism to stop that unless we get something in place. And then that's why, and again, a lot of communities are in the same boat because we all thought, well, we got a little bit of time yet. But that's why the model is working out really well, I think. When I started populating the blanks in there, and it really followed very well. Matt and I are discussing about the zoning districts and whether having them in here, does that necessitate that we make changes in every zoning district to add that? Most communities are saying that this will be a standalone and it'll just point to the zoning district as a conditional use. They're hoping to stand on that. But again, we'll look into that a little bit more and come back with more information on Wednesday. The main thing tonight is if we'd like to get a public hearing set.
Okay, I'll make a motion to set the public hearing on December 19th at
6:10.
6:10.
Second. Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 400. Thanks, Brian. Let's do reports, Brian.
Yes. The pool fundraiser went well. The VFW, huge, big thank you to VFW and all the work that they did and all the people that sold tickets and bought tickets. And we raised a little over $14,000 total. That included the silent raffle or the silent auction, which was raised about $2,400, give or take. So thank you to all the individuals. There's a lot of individuals that brought stuff in for that, as well as a lot of businesses. So it was all, it was a ton of work, but well worth the effort.
What do you have, about 50 baskets? Was that what we had?
54, I think, is what we ended up with, 54 different items on the silent auction, and every one of them got a bid and every one of them went, and so it was good. So very happy with that, and again, big thanks to the VFW. We're going to be doing more fundraising things. I think we had talked about maybe a comedy night in February. I'm hearing about maybe a pancake fundraiser as well now. That'll take place over there. So more things planned. The next pool committee meeting is the 16th at 6 o'clock. We have to be out of here by 7 because there's a Monday night football game. Vikings, Bears. But yeah, 6 o'clock on Monday the 16th is the next committee meeting. The trestle. I've been in communications with WHKS. Their bridge engineering team has been reviewing the inspection report. We got the full report. And we'll have more information for you at the work session as well. We're starting to talk about, what would repairs look like, just if we could do repairs. Right now, we're looking at $100,000, which I'm not sure is feasible or something we even want to do. But we're also looking at some other options and then try and get a feeling from the engineer that did the inspection on some different options that could or, may work. Engineers are hesitant to touch the thing because there are some rotting boards there, and you can't really put a value on how long a rotting board is gonna stay there. So, but we're gonna continue looking at it. We have the application materials for the Transportation Alternatives Grant. So we're working on that as well. We're asking the county commissioners to pass a resolution of support for that because they will have to host if we were to get the money because we're a city under 5,000 still. So the county would have to host those dollars. And so they're working on that. They'll have to do a resolution. In all likelihood, we'll ask the council to do a resolution as well to take responsibility for the dollars involved. As far as the construction and all that stuff with the county being the host. So anyway, more to come on the trestle. We're hoping we can get it open. I've heard from the Snowmobile Club multiple times, and they're willing to do anything and help and rebuild whatever needs to be rebuilt to get that thing open now. So we'll continue to explore that. And then just reminder, we've got the work session on Wednesday next week at 5:30.
You're taking all my stuff.
Oh, did I take that? Sorry.
Any more else?
Nope, that's it.
Thanks, Brian. Matt? Chief?
Just note that if you hadn't seen or heard of the speed trailer in use, that we did receive it finally, and it's functional. We're getting all of the information on how to operate it, how to get reports done on it, because it will certainly keep track of things and speeds and vehicles and so forth to help us understand our traffic problem areas. We ordered some graphic materials to put on the trailer, so it's got our logos on it, and hopefully we'll have that in the next few weeks all decked out, but we will be utilizing it. We've got some training on it next week, and that's all I got.
That was one of my questions for you is we haven't got any reports from that yet? I mean, from using it? Because it sounds like you're still waiting for the programming and,
Well, no, actually Tyler's been the one operating it. He's the one that spearheaded it. I said, you caught it, you clean it.
Kind of figuring it out trial by fire, and then once we get everything figured out, I'll be training everyone else on the operation, how to deploy it, do studies with it, get the information, and how to format that into a report.
is there a way we'll be able to add lights, some of these speed traps here, things you see in different towns when you're going too fast, they got actual red and white. Is that something we can add?
This has red
Does
buttons
that?
on it.
Oh, does it? Okay, because I saw it going the opposite way, but there is lights when if you go too fast. And can we set what speed that turns on?
Oh, it's
Perfect.
fully customized all of that. We could be very specific as to exactly what mile an hour we want that to activate at.
I'll have to see
Are
if
you,
that
are you
works.
sure you haven't seen those lights already, Todd?
No, I haven't. I just gotta check to see. No. Perfect. Thanks,
That's all I
Chief.
got.
Thanks, Tyler, for doing that. Curtis?
Excuse me. Just a report from the EDA. The EDA was approached by Mr. Rashid Femi, who owns the building where the Mexican restaurant is, for a loan to fix the hood in that restaurant so we could get that open. We had a meeting with our finance committee, which consisted of Kim, James Hill, Brian Haugen, and myself. And we discussed and came to the point to fully offer a loan of $38,000 to Mr. Femi to get this fixed. The loan was going to be at $34,200 at 3% for 10 years with 10% forgivable. Thanks to Kim, Mr. Femi came in and signed that loan this week. The EDA, this was brought to the EDA. The EDA approved it, and the check will be cut to him within a week, and hopefully that will spearhead it. One of the things that the finance committee said to finance this is our lack of restaurants, is to get at least get a hood in that building ready to go for this current restaurant and whatever would happen in the future. So yeah, we got that issued, and he came in and signed the papers Tuesday, and yeah, let's go.
Thanks, Kurt. Mike, anything?
Just what you mentioned is we got another pump. It's a sludge pump in the digester room. And we only have two of them, of course, too. So we had to get that one coming and replaced. I'll have that in a memo for once we get your labor and all the parts and stuff like that.
What's the ETA on that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Mike. I have nothing. Sarah? BOB? Kevin?
Three quick things from the EMS roundtable in Dodge Center. That was on November 20th. Most common theme among the different ambulance agencies was that there's a lot of expressed interest in forming other associations, much like the one modeled here at our Zumbrota Ambulance Association. So that was something that they're going to be cooperating with to see develop further. Legislative representatives are also looking to make the reimbursement better because some of the funding, especially for, I believe it's the Medicaid or Medicare transports, they get almost no money back from those type of things. And there's a lot of unsustainability in the current model that's going on. So that's one of the main things. And then Minnesota is issuing, the state is issuing a one-time grant allocation. We'll find out on the 27th if Zumbrota was able to receive any of those funds. And starting or effective January 1st, there's going to be a restructuring of the oversight body for EMS. The EMSRB will no longer exist, and a new department at the state level is going to start working. So it's going to be some new structuring of how that works. So there'll be some growing pains, I assume, how that all works out. But overall, it's looking, our Zumbrota area ambulance is doing really well and seems to be a model for other communities to emulate. So.
My quick question is, if Zumbrota Ambulance gets that grant, what are they going to use that grant money for?
I believe that's going to, if I remember right, that's going to go towards the maintenance of the care of the equipment inside the vehicles. If I remember right.
Do Do we know what the dollar amount could be or up?
It's all behind closed doors until it's divvied out, so.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kevin. Meeting adjourned.